All right. Welcome back. Thank you. We are in the bottom third of page Chav Gimel. And the line begins with the word Abel Einehu Etzem Mamush. We are now focusing on the union of Tselem, of Tzura Atzmis, not just a Tzura that is engraved in the Etzem, but the Etzem becomes one thing with the Tzura, but that the Tzura is truly representative of the Etzem, the Tzura Atzmis. I was thinking that on a Chitzenizikin level, Tzura Atzmis would be like a roadway. When you stand on the road, you're standing on the road, but actually you're standing on the ground. The ground, in order to provide its fullest service that it is meant to do, that the ground, it is the facilitator that holds you up, you have to have a roadway.
Excuse me, it's very soft. Is there anyone speaking a little louder?
All right, now we say inside, and this level, the level we described till now, the union for Oisir is Hachakiko, but the Tziyur is coming out from the Etzem, but it is not representative of the Etzem. But Zeh Shayach Leimer. At that level, Shayach Leimer, it is applicable to say, Sheho Etzem Noises Hatzura. That the Etzem bears this Tzura. Bears the Tzura means it contains the Tzura. It allows for this Tzura. Ainu Shehatzura Eineho Etzem, which is implying that the Tzura is not the Etzem. Rag Gili Ho Etzem. It only is a relation of the Etzem, but it is not the Etzem. The Ho Etzem Noise Betoicho Yes Hatzura Kelim Shin Yizgala. And the Etzem contains internally this Tzura before it came into expression. V'hatzura hu his galas hadover. And when the Tzura comes out, this is where it comes to full expression.
Can you make it louder? It's very soft.
I don't know. Tzura Atzmis Who? But then what do we mean by the word tzura atzmis? It is shehatzura. It is when the tzura is ein rak gilui. The tzura is not only a gilui, an expression of what is contained in the etzem. Kiyim hu ha'etzem mamo shemitztayer. It is the very essence itself, shemitztayer, that has assumed a certain form. But this form that it assumes is not a form that is, so to speak, coming from elsewhere, or has some other implication. It's a form that is exclusively representative of this etzem. This means the etzem is mitztayer. And thus, in that level, it's not applicable to say sheho etzem noisei hatzura, that the etzem bears the tzura, contains the tzura, allows for the tzura, because the hatzura v'ho etzem hakoil echad hu. Because the tzura and the etzem, it is actually one and the same thing. The tzura and the etzem are pointing to exactly the same thing.
Etzem is one mistyre and is gale. What's the difference?
Etzem means the essence.
Yeah, no,
Mitztayer means format.
format.
Format. Like a surah. Mizgala means revealed.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Even though even though it's a form, we don't call it a gilui.
Right. Because the form is the form that is exclusively representative of this etzem. Gilui means what is contained therein. And Tzura Atzmis means this is the etzem. How do we understand it? So we have the following approach. Begashmiyus, on the physical level, ha'hefresh bein tzelem u'dmus, hu. What would be the difference between tzelem and mus? Shehatzelem hu k'mei etzem hadover mamush, k'mei shehu. The tzelem is like the thing itself that it is mitzayir. V'hadmus, and the dmus, the likeness, hurak mare hadober hahu, is only the appearance of that thing levad, but not the thing itself. A tzelem in Gashmi, the word tzelem actually means a statue. The mus means a rendition, a painting. Now, derech moshel, as for example, in tzelem eze odom, when you make a tzelem of a person, choitchim, meyetz and meyeven, then you cut out from a piece of wood or from a rock, tzelem ish hahu, the tzelem of that person. Ba'oivi gufoy, that will include and fully approximate oivi gufoy, the thickness of his body, or b'chitach evorov, and the form of his evorim. B'chein k'shematzikim eze min matches. Similarly, when you pour out, so to speak, and you form from eze min matches, from any kind of a metal, Gamkein, then too, machikim, you form out, you pour out selam gufay, the very selam, the very form of his body, kmei shehu, the way as it is in the real body. B'tziur protei vorov shel odem hahu, the actual Evorim as they are of that person. B'yorkom u'b'ovyom, their correct length and width and thickness. Hakol kmei shehu mamos, exactly as it is. This is what we call tzelem in Gashmius. Ma she'en ken shemitzarim d'mus ha'odom, but when we are mitzayir, when we form only the most likeness of the person, then you don't have anything in the oiviyoi in its correct thickness and so forth. Kiyim only shemitzuyor b'diyoi shocher al gabelovo, that it is formed with ink, shocher al gabelovo, black and white. And therefore the Dmus Ha'odom appears. But it is not really contain the actual tzelem. V'hagam shebitmunas ha'odom gamkin niker koprotei vorov. Even though that mitmuna, just in a picture of a person, is also obvious, you can also tell all the evorim, heim be'orkom, heim be'rogbo, lengthwise and thick in the widthwise. Omnom, and yet still, we clearly can see that einom rak tmunas hadover, that they are not more than tmunas hadover ahu, than only the picture of that thing. V'loi k'moi shehu, but not as the thing is, b'chituch evorov, with the full form of the bodies, of the limbs. Derech medido, in a measured manner. Shehekef ever hayad ehoregel, where the surroundings, the circumference of the hand or the foot, yishtava le'etzem hayad el haregel, should be equal, the actual hand and the foot that you are approximating. Except that its size becomes apparent by the tzir, just by the picture. But there is not an actual, a touchable, a tangible representation of the hand and the foot. Because in the mus there is not any tangibility. It only represents something, alludes to something, but it doesn't have the actual thing. But only in tzelem. By tzelem, yesh mamoshos hadover hahu. There is the actual mamoshos, the actual tangibility of that thing, and then it is representative of that thing in actuality. Okay. So this is how these two concepts of tzelem and mus are identifiable in the Gashmistic arena, on the Gashmistic level. Now, in Gashmius, although it is true that we are forming a form according to the form of the goof, but what we are actually forming is something that duplicates the form. There is not the chomer haposhut that is mitztayer in this form, at least so far in this moshul. We're actually taking a form, we're looking at the form, at the tangible form, and we are forming it from another material, exactly as the form is, not as the chomer haposhut is. Therefore, I mean, it's still going to be developed, but therefore it's one thing that we have to understand. This is a first step moshel for the concept that we are trying to bring out. This is what we mean by etzelim, where it's not a likeness, it is the very thing represented in this. So that this tzelem, this likeness, could not be any different. It has to be exactly the way this body is.
I missed the subtlety that you're trying to bring out over here. I'm sorry. What's the point? I just didn't hear it.
Well, you know, there is in modern art so you could represent a person in art form. Where the picture is not an accurate picture of the person as you look at it. The picture represents the impression that the person makes it, rather than the actual thing. But you cannot do this in tzelem. Tzelem has to be an accurate picture, an accurate representation. If you do any changes in the tzelem, become a caricature. It's not referring to the same thing. The important point that I wanted we should bear in mind is that this moshel is as I said, is a first step moshel. It's not a moshel to the concept that we are actually focusing on. Because in the concept the person is focusing on is that the etzem form acquires a form. How does etzem acquire a form? Here we're just talking about the etzem of the form, translated in a different material. It's not an etzem. Then furthermore, likewise, Guv ha'odom mamosh, the body of the person, the actual body, nikro tzelem, that too is called tzelem. The Guf HaOdom is not approximating anything. It's not a copy of anything. This is the Guf of this person. And yet it's called Tzelem. Why is that called Tzelem? The who, and that is Shachakiko v'hatziyor beguf ve'etzem hadover. That the formulating in the very essence of the thing, Umam Moshoi, Harei Zeh Tzelem. This is what Tzelem is. That when the form is within the very reality itself. All right. The Guf HaOdom, there is Mekatzer over here. The Guf HaOdom, say for example, a person has two hands. These two hands represent the two midas of Chesed and Gvura. With these two hands, a person is able to perform all kinds of different things. And there is an actual form to these hands that allow them to perform their function. Say, for example, with Bar Melech Shilton, we say, Bar Melech Shilton, that the Melech, he gets things accomplished by his speech, by command. When he accomplishes things by command, the accomplishment and the command are not a direct representation of each other. The command itself directly does not perform the action. Whereas the hand has actually this form of performing this action. The action itself is initiated and is designed and is conceptualized by a quality that is much higher and deeper in the person than the hand. Yet this function actually acquires a form. This is called the Tzelem. When the hand is doing its action, this is what the hand is meant to do, and the hand is a Tzelem for that particular action.
Tzelem for the action? It's not the means by which it's getting done.
No. It has the actual form. Let's take and contrast the movement of a car and the movement of a human movement. How does a car move? A car does not really move. The wheels turn, and if it happens to hit a pavement that creates a friction, that will cause it to move. There is no movement in the design of the car, per se. A human being walks on feet, on 2 feet. That is an actual movement, where he moves one foot and puts it down and moves another foot. The feet actually represent transformation, transmission from one place to another. You're not getting it?
Well, I'm just starting it. I'm just thinking that he also needs to have his feet on the ground.
Right.
Yes. But even if he were to walk on ice, he can walk. He's not. He has to have his feet on the ground. That we always say. But he's not. It's easier to walk when you have friction. But he can walk even on perfect. Just carefully lift his feet up, and he will be moving. The movement itself then is in the feet, not in the ground. It's not the ground that causes him to walk. It is the movement of the feet.
The movement is more in feet than in a wheel.
Absolutely.
There's
The wheel
no-
doesn't have movement.
But a foot does, because
The
because
foot
it's-
fully represents this thing.
Previously, when we've compared the person and the car before, it's been about the intention to go some. The movement has to do with that it's a human movement.
That's another thing.
It's completely different.
Okay.
Okay.
Exactly. We're talking about Selah. The hand has a form that is representative fully of the action that the hand has to do. Not an approximation, not a likeness, but the actual action. The foot has the actual the form for the actual inima that the foot is supposed to perform. The wheel of the car does not have any of this. This is a coordination of two totally independent elements that make the car move.
Rabbi,
Uh-huh.
you're saying that what I'm hearing you say is that the wheel can turn and not go anywhere. It just goes spinning around. But it can do a lot of it can do nothing. But it can just but a foot is designed for walking. It's designed for movement. That's you could it's not for touching, it's not for anything else but moving, walking. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit more. The wheel the wheel does not have movement in it at all. It doesn't move. It is staying on one place and just spinning. And moving is something which is influenced by a completely different phenomenon. The foot must move. This is it for this morning, and we're going to reconvene this evening. Gentlemen, I really would like to request that we start going back to some kind of a time. It's a little frustrating. Okay, have a good day. This is it for now. Call